everyone. As you can see, our little baby girl was born finally. We named her Catalina Reese. We pretty much had it narrowed down to a couple different names, but that was kind of our front runner. And I don't think we were probably going to change from it. We discussed it Sunday night, so on 12/11, the night before my induction, we kind of discussed her name a little more in depth, and that's what we pretty much decided on going into Monday. So as you all know from my last video, I was scheduled for my induction on Monday, 12/12. I was supposed to call at 5:30 in the morning to see if it was on for 7:30. Well, we went to bed. It was well after 11 by the time we got Remington to Clint's mom's, and just we had been gone all day and everything. So it was just late. By the time we got our bags completely packed, ready to go, and in bed and settled and everything, it was well after 11 before I fell asleep. Well, I was rudely awakened by a pretty strong contraction at 1:45. I think I ignored it until 1:55 when the next one hit. So exactly 10 minutes later, I had that second contraction. I think I got up to go to the bathroom on that one. 10 minutes later, another one hit. And I think I woke Clint up with that one. I was like, okay, I'm definitely having contractions, and these are not like the contractions I've had before. These are definitely, I could tell, real deal right away. Then, so I had 3 at 10 minutes apart, and then I had 1 at 7 minutes apart, and then I had a whole bunch at 5 minutes apart, and they just seemed to stay that way. And pretty quickly on, they developed a pattern of, I would have one, it would go not completely away, I would still feel pain, but it would decrease in pain, the intensity, and all of a sudden it would rise back up and I'd hit another contraction peak. And then it would go away, and then I would have another one. So I wasn't getting rest in between 2 out of the 3 contractions. That definitely was wearing on my body, but because they were early contractions, I could handle it. Even though I'd only had less than 2 hours, or about 2 hours of sleep, I was handling it in the beginning because they were still 5 minutes apart, so I'd get, some rest in there. By 3:30, we decided, we just need to go into the hospital because we're being induced in a few hours and they're 5 minutes apart, and let's just go in. So we headed in and we're there by a little after 4. We were all settled in, checked in by after 4, and they checked me, and I was only 3 centimeters dilated, 80% effaced, and they were still coming 5 minutes apart, and I was getting very nauseous. I don't remember exactly what time it was. I want to say it was between probably 7, it was like 7 something when my parents came up to the hospital. And I felt so bad for them because they walked in, I saw them take off their jackets and start to sit down as I'm saying, give me the puke bucket, and I threw up all of my dinner from the night before, which was chili. And yeah, chili is not the greatest thing to have come up. It was not fun. My throat hurt the rest of the day. It was all scratchy and sore because I think all the acids from the chili burned it really bad, but I felt a lot better once I threw up at least. And yeah, that must have been really close to 7:30 because I think that was shift change. My doctor came on duty then, and we got our new laboring nurse then. Because it was my old nurse, the first nurse that cleaned me up, and then right after that the new nurse came in. And let me tell you, I want to go to the hospital and bring her like a gift basket or something, because this nurse was absolutely amazing. I just wanted, after it was all over, just wanted to like hug and kiss her. I loved her. She was so nice, so sweet, and she would explain everything very much in depth. And at first, I'll admit, when she first came in and started explaining what was going on or telling me different things, I was like, okay lady, you're telling me too much information. You're talking during my contractions, and I don't know you, I don't like you, you need to get away. I mean, I didn't say any of that, but I was thinking it. And then after maybe an hour, because she stayed with me a lot, she barely ever left. Well, my first nurse would barely ever check in. But the second nurse, she just was constantly with me and talking me through contractions, and I quickly just, my mind completely changed, and I really liked her and was glad that we were having her through the long haul. So she like had me get up on the birthing ball, and that was great. And then she even brought in a different birthing ball, which I've never seen. It was like in the shape of a peanut, and you could straddle it and I don't know, it was just easier to sit on. And I was laboring on that for a while. She went over an epidural with me and what my views were on it. And I said I really didn't want an epidural, but I wasn't completely like closed off and against it. I was going to try to keep an open mind. And if I did have the epidural, it would be way, like, I would have to feel really intense pains and just feel like I absolutely had to have it. I was going to try to do as much naturally or with the IV drugs as I could. So we did that. At some point, I have no idea at what point in there, I asked for the first dose of IV drugs, and those are pretty quick. The sucky part was I didn't feel like they took away the pain from the contractions. I felt just kind of loopy in the head, but it was kind of nice to just have some sort of relief, even if it was just like, because I was like not able to keep my eyes open as much. I also learned pretty quick that I changed, like in labor. I thought, in birthing classes we talked about, you know, the deep breathing and like low moaning tones during contractions, and I felt so silly doing them in class. And all of a sudden I'm having contractions and I'm finding myself like moaning and trying to keep the tones low, and it was totally natural. I could not stop it, and the more intense I got, the more I felt like I was just trying to keep that like constant hum, like, I don't know, low tone noise. And I had quite a few doses of the IV medicine, and I remember at one point I was checked and she said I was 6 centimeters, and she said this would be a good time if you do want the epidural, you know, to get it. And I said nope, I'm doing good, because I mean I was in pain, but felt like I'm handling it naturally and with the IV. And so we kept on going, and that was probably, I don't know, I have no idea what time that was. That was maybe around 9, 10 o'clock. Honestly, I could be way off on that one though. And at one point she asked if I wanted to get in the shower, and I remember saying no, and then the next thing I know, she asked if I wanted to get in the shower, and it sounded like a great idea. So we got me in the shower, and she got the birthing ball in there. Well, first I was standing, and trying to go through those contractions standing was not fun. So she had me sitting down in the shower on the birthing ball, and that was a lot better, and I just had the hot water running over my stomach, and Clint was just my absolute savior through all this. He kept rubbing my lower back, and it was like I could focus. When he would rub my lower back during a contraction, I could focus. So he'd get a break when I wasn't having a contraction, but when I was, he was really not getting any relief from me, because he said I would give him the death look, and he knew he was doing something wrong. If he wasn't rubbing my back, he knew he better start rubbing. One time when I was laying in bed, he thought it would be a great idea to open the one of the blinds and let some sunlight in. And he turned around and like with a smile on his face, and I must have been giving him the death look, because he turned right back around and closed them. We were keeping the lights very low in the room. I had planned on having music and all that stuff went out the window. At one point, my mom was there, my dad had gone to work, my best friend was there, and then my mother-in-law showed up with Remington, and right as they showed up was when we were getting me up off of the birthing ball once to check me, and I felt like I was leaking stuff, so we thought maybe my water had broken, and it hadn't, but because of that they had everybody go out of the room, and at that point I just said keep them out of the room, because it was like everybody was talking and I couldn't focus when I was having contractions. So I thought I'd be okay to having people in there while I was laboring, and that went out. It was like they all got booted out the rest of the time. Sometime, I don't know, maybe around 11, between 11 and noon they checked, and I was 8 centimeters. And that's when I was like 8 to 9, and they're like, you're really, really close. We're gonna break your water. Yeah, it was about 8 centimeters. They broke my water, and real quick that moved me to like 9. They're like, well, we're gonna have you just try pushing just to see, you know, how good you push. I was like, I don't know. I feel like I feel the pressure, and I felt like I had to poop really, really bad. And I kept trying to tell them, I'm like, no, I don't feel like I've got to push a baby out. I was like, seriously, I feel like I just got to poop. So we tried the push, and yeah, I felt like I was tensing up because I seriously felt like I needed to poop, and it's not the baby part, it was poop. So she's like, well, if you really feel that way, we can do some pushing on the toilet. So we got me to the toilet, and I tried, but I couldn't get relaxed enough to really poop. And I stayed there for quite a while, and the more I stayed on the toilet, the more the contractions were just wearing me out, and again, I wasn't getting that relief. We had tried Pitocin in there, like towards the beginning of the day too, to try to level out. She said it would help level out those contractions, like get me that relief in between those two I was talking about, and it didn't seem to really help. It probably, helped move things along. It intensified. I felt like the day moved along really quick. Other people said, wow, you were in labor that long, but I didn't feel like it was really that long. So after I was on the toilet for a while, and I was like, I don't know, I was just in so much pain that I finally broke down. I remember looking at Clint, and I said, can I get the epidural? Can we do that? And my nurse was like, you're complete now. And I thought she was going to tell me, it's too late, you can't get it. And she's like, but you're really, really tired, and I can tell when we had you pushing, you're just not ready to push. Even though you're complete, you're not ready to push. She's like, I agree that it would be a good time to get the epidural, and just so you can get some rest. And I was like, thank you, God. So we moved me back to the bed, and she called for the epidural, and I swear it felt like forever before the guy got in there. It labored so much with my eyes closed that even when he came in, the anesthesiologist came in, I never opened my eyes to meet him. He tried to introduce himself, and I'm just like, go ahead, stab me in the back, let's get going. And that seemed to take forever. I had so many contractions during the epidural, like while he was trying to do it, that it was so hard to stay like hunched over and everything. But the epidural itself, feeling the needle go in, I don't even remember any of that. I could handle that. That was a stick, a sting, and it was over, but it was just waiting for it to get done and start taking effect. They said, about 15 minutes for it to take effect. Thank God it was way less than that, because it was literally about ready to start crying from the pain. It just was so intense, and like I said, I wasn't getting any relief. And then just all of a sudden I could just feel it kicking in, and my body just was able to relax. And I don't know that I really slept, but it was so much better. And my nurse came in and checked me, and she's like, wow, the baby's really not in position, because if you look at my belly, you could just see it was all like to one side. And so she's like, what we need to do is get you to lay on your right side to get her to shift and line up straight. And at first I really didn't want to, because, well, at that point the epidural hadn't totally taken effect, and I was still in pain, and it felt more painful when I laid on my right. And she explained to me why she wanted me to lay on my right side at that point, and she needed to shift, and that was just what needed to be done. So again, because she explained it just went in my head. I was like, okay, then this is what I need to do. If I was just being told you need to lay on your right side and not explain why, I'd just be like, no, it's uncomfortable, I don't want to. But to know that there was a means to her madness, it totally made it worth it. So I laid on my right side for probably at least an hour, hour and a half. I know Clint was able to get some rest. He actually went and ate. I told him, go eat with your family even, or our family out in the waiting room, because I feel better. It's not a trick question, go, because he was really hesitant to leave me. But he left, and he was able to get some sleep too on the couch or on the chair, and we both got the rest we needed. And then about 2:30, my doctor came in and wanted to check me, and she's like, well, let's just see how you're doing, and if I think you're ready. So she checked. Okay, anyways, sorry about that. So Clint just came in, but so yeah, my doctor came in and checked me and said her head is right there. I mean, it's so close. I really think if you could try pushing, if you feel up to it. I'm like, well, I can't feel the contractions anymore, so if you tell me when to push, I'm all up for starting to try to push. So at exactly 2:48 was my first contraction that we started pushing with. And sometimes I would feel the pressure like build up, like I needed to push. So at 2:48 we started pushing, and I had 14 contractions, and we would try to get 3 sets of pushing in per contraction. And exactly half an hour then later, little Catalina Reese was born. She came out screaming, and it was such a great thing to hear. She came out, you know, they suctioned her mouth out and everything, cleaned that out. Had her head and her shoulders were starting to come out when they did that. And then they pulled her out, and when they put her on my stomach, I just remember thinking, oh my God, how was that all in me just now? Even though I knew it's a baby, I know she was in there and would be coming out, and it just, I don't know, it's just such a surreal feeling to know that like literally seconds ago she's inside and now she's out and she's on your stomach, and I don't know, it was just such an awesome feeling. And she's just perfect and absolutely beautiful, and more than I ever could have hoped for, imagined. Oh my goodness, it was just so incredible. And Clint got to cut the cord, and then afterwards my doctor went to deliver the placenta, and the cord came detached from the placenta. So she's like, that's not good. I'm going to have to go in after the cord. So she even said